Hello, my name is Lily Baker. I'm an undergraduate assistant at Vanderbilt University Center for Teaching, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Saxton Strassberg, who is a Vanderbilt University alumna from the class of 2021, and she is also a former learning assistant for the Introduction to Biological Sciences course here at Vanderbilt. Welcome, Sarah Saxton.
Thank you for having me.
So, what did you learn about being a learning assistant, or what did you learn from being a learning assistant?
Honestly, a lot of things. I really learned how to tailor lessons to each student's needs. So how those classes were formatted were that we would each have a group of somewhere between like 13 and 20 students. And that was kind of like our cohort, our little group. And we got to know those students really, really, really well because those were the same people we were interacting with kind of day in and day out. And so I offered opportunities for each student to meet one-on-one with me and talk about not only, their goals for the course and their strengths and weaknesses and concerns and things like that, but also their scientific interests, what they want to do. I also learned a lot of mentorship skills, both inside and outside of the classroom. And I felt like I really got to know these students and provide information and advice that maybe I didn't get when I was at their stage. And I know we were talking a little bit about material earlier. I definitely relearned the material in a much deeper way. You need to know the material so well in order to teach it effectively. And I definitely felt after LAing that like I could recite all the material in my sleep. So that was really cool. And also, last but not least, I have a much better appreciation for instructors because now I realize like truly how much time and effort goes into planning a single lesson or a single lecture, especially if you're putting a lot of energy into like making it entertaining and engaging. Like I know how Dr. Clements includes memes and like really kind of active, engaging activities in his lessons. So like kudos to any instructor. I get it.
So, how did being a learning assistant influence your thinking about science or your identity as a scientist or your identity as an educator?
Yeah. So one of the most common questions that students ask is why? Like, why is, this protein this way? Or why does this animal have this like crazy, morphological trait? And it just, those kinds of why questions made me realize just how much I don't know about science and why people can spend their entire lives just looking at like the tiny, like a teeny tiny sliver of science and like why they kind of hone in on one thing because there's just so much out there. And it just kind of gave me a new appreciation for why we're learning this material of like, oh yeah, if in order to understand this, thing about the immune system, we have to look at it through like an evolutionary biology context and, maybe incorporate other fields as well. So it definitely like gave me kind of a more interdisciplinary view of science. And after LAing, I've come to really regard teaching as an opportunity to pay forward some of the great instruction that I got and to encourage interest in science, rather than just like a chore or a box to be checked. Like I know in graduate school, I know a lot of people are like, oh, like I have to TA, it's just, something that I have to check off in order to graduate. But I've really come to see it as like an opportunity to, get people excited about science and provide hopefully some really engaging instruction and content.
If you were describing being in LA to a friend, I know you've done a little bit of this already, but how would you describe it as? How would you talk about it?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that it is an incredible opportunity. It's kind of like being a teaching assistant, but rather than kind of focusing on grading and administration, you're almost like a peer mentor to students. And your goal is to foster like a better comprehensive understanding of the material and a really creative and productive learning environment using directed discussions and answering questions in a way that is really engaging and kind of interdisciplinary too.
Would you recommend being a learning assistant to other students?
Oh, without a doubt. It's a great way to gain mentorship and teaching experience, which, especially if you're interested in going into academia or, some sort of teaching job, or even, as a researcher who might, teach some classes on the side, like that's really important to have that background in effective teaching. It's also a way to learn the material even better, a second or third or whatever it might be go round, and to meet cool people and build a community, both kind of among the other LAs and the instructors and among students too. Like I still talk to some of the students I had, and it's really cool, if they reach out to me and they're like, hey, I just saw this thing and thought of you, or, I'm now considering grad school, because of our chats. So like, that's really cool to, have that lasting community and help people, explore their interests and kind of gain traction on that front.
Thank you so much, Sarah Saxton. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
speaking with you.
Likewise.